Hello, my name's Paul Stansbury, and I chose to do my final project on the Kansas City micro transit market. Specifically, the micro transit market is, in essence, electric scooters and electric bikes that you can rent in downtown Kansas City to transport yourself around. So this was a pilot program, started back in May 2019, supposed to go for a year, extended for another year. It's a partnership between KCMO and three for-profit organizations named Bird, Ride, KC Bike and Scooter, and Spin. And really, they were looking for an innovative way to provide additional modes of transportation for people downtown. And really, I'm looking at it from a business perspective of what will this data over almost the course of a year tell us, and will there be opportunities for improvements? Will there be opportunities for increased market share? Will the data show something that could help us manage this industry if I were someone that was partaking in this industry? One of the things that they did was initially to roll this out was to introduce a discount program for low-income residents, so they could enroll for a very low monthly fee, and it gets the scooters out there, it gets them being used. People see them traveling around, and then even with the concept being that people that even aren't enrolled in the discount program would then potentially want to use them. The data that I pulled, I found on a website called Open Data KC. You can see the web address there. So I'm going to start to plug in the data into Tableau and use that to break out and create this dashboard here, the storyboard. You start to see, and we looked at what are the start times. So I want to focus in on what times my products start to get used, what is about the high usage times. And you can see here from the early morning about 6 a.m. to we'll call it noon, a very low usage time. And as the afternoon starts to pick up, so does the start time usage, number of trips of these products. And really starting about 2 o'clock, it starts to get up there. And right here at hour 18, which would be 6 p.m., we start to see a really nice steady increase up through the middle of the night, and reaches its peak right here, right before about 2 a.m., and then a steep drop off all the way down, straight down to 5 a.m. So really, the start times and peak usage is late afternoon into the evening and early morning. And then you look at what are the days of the week that the peak usage. And again, so if we look at day number 2, this day number 2 is Monday, 1 being Sunday, 2 being Monday. So here you have kind of your Monday through the middle of the week, and Friday starts ramping up. Saturday, there's a large increase where it peaks out on Saturday, and then over the course of Sunday morning, really drops down into Monday morning. So right here, that weekend time is your high usage. Now, trip distance stays pretty consistent throughout the days of the week, somewhere around 1.1 to 1.25 is your average trip distance, except for some reason on Wednesdays, it increases to almost 2 miles. I was not able to isolate why that trip distance on Wednesdays is so high. There must be something unique going on in that downtown corridor area, which you'll see on the map here on Wednesdays. But there is a large increase in average distance per trip. And trip duration by day, if you look at the duration as you would expect during the week, the duration is lower. On the weekends, again, it rises up. The average start and end location are almost identically the same place, right there in front of Union Station on Main Street. We start to plot all of these unique trip IDs onto the map here, and you'll see obviously the large cluster in the downtown Kansas City area. And then you'll see these 2 spots over here that I've kind of isolated with red circles, and I'd like to talk about those a little bit later on because I see those as potential opportunities for growth. These are blown up resections of the previous slide, and what you see here is where some of these scooters are being used at. You'll see that we've got some at Shawnee Mission Park, Meadowbrook Park, and Heritage Park, which is not on there, but is another place that some of these micro transit units are being used at. So again, if I go back to downtown Kansas City and I reduce the data down to trips that were at least half a mile from start to finish, and so that's going to reduce down and let you see a little bit more what is the concentration of where these trips are starting at, and you start to get a really good idea that it's a middle corridor running right down through downtown Kansas City, right down Main Street, on down to Swope Parkway. And you really kind of get a good sense of this is your main area here. Start to look at from a monthly perspective and a number of rides, how many rides or trips are being made per month. And remember, this program rolled out in May 2019, and this data really starts here. And so in June, you can see a quick ramp up, and July being the high point. And then as the months start to go on, we drop off here. In October, you'll see a steep drop down through November and December. And finally in February and beyond is almost nil. Somewhere right in here, COVID-19 hit. I'm sure that has a large impact. You've got less people out shopping, less people out recreating, as well as, there's a sanitation piece that comes with public use pieces of equipment. And when you look at your average trip duration over the months and years, you'll see a steady decline again from the summer down through the winter and almost moving out into the spring, which again is where COVID-19 hit. A couple anomalies here. You'll see a way above the average here in December. I think you've got your holiday shopping going on downtown, so you're going to see a large increase in duration. And then you've also got a downward trend here, which I found very unique. It's such a low spike in duration of trips. Why were the trips so short at this particular time? And when you isolate the data, it's actually January 19th, 2020, which if you'll remember, if you're from the Kansas City area, that's when the Chiefs AFC championship game was, where they won and ended up ultimately going to the Super Bowl. But if you remember that day, it was 0 to teens as a high, and then there was a really good wind going, and it was well below zero with the wind chill. And so I would suppose that had a lot to do with the very short trips that people were taking on the e-scooters and e-bikes that day. So really, when you break down all that data and you look at a couple of the conclusions that you can draw through looking at that is that the average trip length is about 10 minutes for the e-bikes and e-scooters. So you're getting about 10 minutes and roughly, 30 cents per ride. You're looking at a $3 charge for a 10-minute ride downtown there. Looking at the graphs that we showed on the previous slide, you'll notice about 50% spike on the weekends. Again, that's when they're being used. Evenings into early mornings, and primarily on the weekends. Those are your high use times. And we can see and make a supposition based off of that data that they're really being used aggressively for recreation versus commuter use. These are really, the high demand for these are as a recreational tool. And again, we've got that weird anomaly on Wednesdays where our trip distance really spikes without any noticeable reason why. And then you can draw a correlation between the weather and temperature and usage rates as temperature gets colder, usage goes down. But really, we've only got not even a complete year's worth of data to look at. So, and then you throw in COVID-19, which is going to really throw a wrench in the works too. So I'd like to see a couple of years worth of data to be able to draw those conclusions a little better. Those are some of the things that I would be looking at if I was somebody in this industry, potentially just looking through this data. Of course, I'm going to plan my maintenance on my e-scooters and e-bikes during the winter months when my demand and my usage is extremely down. I've got to do battery refreshes. I've got brakes that need to be redone. I've got tires that potentially need to be replaced. So I'm going to plan a aggressive maintenance schedule during those winter months when usage is down. I'm also going to be looking at more opportunities outside of just downtown. I'm looking to some of those other recreational areas and parks like we saw at Shawnee Mission. There are lots of other high-use recreational areas around the Kansas City area where there currently aren't e-scooters and e-bikes being used. And so I look for opportunities there. And although this program really targeted low-income areas, and with that discount program to kind of get things started, I think there's also an option for more premium services in some of the higher income areas. So I would explore that as a business possibility. And of course, we saw that central corridor of Kansas City as being our primary use down there through Main Street and such. But again, I think I would look for a market for premium services in higher income areas, in some of the shopping districts, and potentially places like golf courses. So that's what I found using this data set. I hope you guys found it useful. It was fun to really get in there and get some data loaded and learn how some of the tools like Tableau work, and to see what you can kind of analyze based off that data. So thanks for watching, guys.